Hey guys, I'm Della.
And I'm Polly.
And we are here for Baha'i Blog's Deck of Questions. So today's theme is on being a Baha'i. I have been a Baha'i for my entire life.
And I've recently become a Baha'i.
So the questions all revolve around our journey as Baha'is, what has led us to become a Baha'i, and our spiritual kind of life and questions revolving around spirituality. So let's get into it. Okay. So the first question is, what do you find challenging about being a Baha'i?
Good first question.
Yeah.
What do I find challenging? I think it'll definitely be living up to the standard and not putting too much pressure on yourself. I think as someone who already has very high standards of myself, and I do like to push myself, having the Baha'i standards there as well does sometimes feel like that extra layer. But if I think of it too much in that way, of this pressure, then it's very overwhelming. So I try to think of it as like that guiding point in my life. But I think one of the principles, if I can talk about it, is the principle of backbiting, which I feel like is constantly all around us, and it's very easy to get sucked into when you're in a social situation. So I think for a lot of people it is that struggle, for myself included, and I think one of the things that brings me back into, okay, let's uphold these principles, is that it does extend to more than just yourself. So when I do find that I struggle with certain things, to uphold them, I do try to think of how this has that flow-on effect to others and also your soul, of course.
Yeah, I think there's some really important points you've made there, Polly, because the Baha'i standard is actually quite high, but it's there for us to be able to strive to do our very best. And I think, when I think about the most challenging thing as well, it's not easy being a Baha'i. Actually, to be a Baha'i is really, really hard, because our number one aim is to serve humanity. And so every day of our life, what we need to do is have our aim centered upon others and to constantly be giving of ourselves. And that's not an easy thing to be doing. So while it is challenging, I mean, of course, it's very, very rewarding. But I think when I think about maybe, in terms of challenging, it's definitely
Not easy.
not an easy task, but definitely purposeful.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think anything purposeful comes easy.
That's right.
Anyway, so.
That's right.
Do you feel you know the meaning of life?
There's one of the prayers from the Baha'i Faith that says, I bear witness, O my God, thou hast created me to know thee and to worship thee. So I feel that in a nutshell is what we're here for. We are here to know God and to worship God.
Yeah.
So to me, that is what the meaning of life is.
Throughout my spiritual journey, I feel like, at the end of it, like, what you want is to know the purpose and the meaning of your life. And when I became a Baha'i, I felt like this question was answered. It was like, oh, this is why I'm here. It was like that big sense of relief to realize that you're not here by mistake. You're not here by accident, and that there is that purpose where you can contribute really solidly to, your family, to your friends, to your community. So I feel like when I became a Baha'i, a lot of these questions around, why am I here? What's the purpose? I feel like a lot of those things were answered. And of course, like God, service being at the center of it, and just being part of this wider plan for humanity really just helped me kind of, have that inner peace.
Yes. Yeah. What's the most common question people ask you about your faith? That's a goodie.
Common question.
Of course, what is it? Because
Yes.
no, what is that? I've never heard of that.
Yeah. They're like, huh?
And so that's one of the biggest ones, because obviously it's a minority faith, and so not a lot of people, more and more people are hearing about it, but a lot of people still haven't heard about the Baha'i Faith. So it's a few that I can think of.
Yeah. It's kind of good and bad that that's not as well known, because I feel like, there are a lot of misconceptions about religion in general. And I think because, the faith is in its newer stages of development, then it does feel like we do have that responsibility. And I think I feel very lucky to be sort of in this era of the faith as well, where we've got a lot of work to do. Not, the purpose of the faith is not to convert people, but it's to share the teachings of it, to make our lives better. And so, I think that's probably the biggest question. Like, what is it?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
My turn. Okay. What do you love about being a Baha'i?
I just love that whatever space I'm in, I just feel this peace and this serenity, and I just love that I have purpose in my life, and that I have meaning, and that every day I'm able to actually wake up and have a sense of direction and know exactly what it is that is centering me and aligning me.
Yeah. And that's really nice, because it's not to say you don't have bad days,
of course,
as well.
Yeah.
But it really is that kind of guiding light when you do feel like there's something that, isn't feeling quite right. You do know that this is, that important part of you that kind of keeps you aligned.
Yes.
What I love about being Baha'i is probably how much healing it brought to myself and to my family. Oh, I'm going to get emotional.
It's okay.
It's the hormones. The pregnancy.
She's pregnant.
I'm pregnant. It's okay. It's all right. I love being Baha'i because, of that sense of healing that it gave in my life. I grew up in a very difficult childhood environment where there were lots of things where I went like, why is this happening to me? And kind of feeling like there is more to life than, this like pain and this hurt. So I think the teachings of the faith made me forgive a lot. And also gave me that, sense of direction. Because my dad did pass away earlier this year, and it being like a very unexpected event, it can be that massive shock to you. So for me, having the teachings of the faith, I think that's what brought me that sense of knowing, even when logically like nothing makes sense at all in the world. And so, like there's this understanding that we have as Baha'is that there's, life and death, and, the soul progresses. And I think that even within this midst of, feeling this extreme grief, I had that kind of inkling in my head that, my dad's soul was going to progress, and it gives you that sense of
assurance
that it's not always going to feel like this, and that there's some place better that we're all going to as well. So I reckon that probably a lot of people think that it's very restrictive, like that you can't live a full life if you were religious. But that couldn't be further from the truth, because I think we all live our life based on a certain set of values and principles, whether that comes from, you know, like a religion, a faith, or it's, you know, pieced together by, you know, like different, like other different things. I feel like, yeah, a misconception is that you're not living life to the fullest because there are certain laws that you are, I guess, bound by.
Yes. What's the best experience you've ever had as a Baha'i?
You want to know?
Yeah, go.
Marrying your brother? Oh, so lame. He's gonna hold on to this forever. Yeah, like...
It was because you got to become my sister-in-law, though, not because you actually...
Oh, yeah, that's why. There's like 100%. I think it's probably the best because, you know, it's really formed the basis of how we're going to raise our children, what our marriage is, what our life is together. Yeah. Why should other people consider becoming a Baha'i?
There's a question.
Yeah. I'm glad you're answering this first. I'm like, who am I to tell people what they should do?
Look, I think whoever finds themselves on a spiritual journey should just consider it, because why not?
Yeah.
If you're on a spiritual journey and you are looking for meaning, or you are exploring various spiritual pathways, and you are trying to discover what your purpose is, or what this life or this world is all about, or if you've got questions, I find a lot of people are questioning why the world is the way that it is.
Yeah.
Why is this? Why does this happen? Why is there so much suffering in the world? Why is there so much chaos? Why is this? I just feel like the Baha'i Faith has so many answers to everything, and everything to me just makes so much sense. So everybody has that capacity to search, to know, and to love God and for themselves. So it is very much between themselves and their creator.
Yeah.
So
and I think like no one else, no matter if it's someone who's been a Baha'i for a number of years, or has some sort of prominence within like any community, has that, I guess, like right to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. I think that's a big part of our religion. What's one piece of advice you'd give to your younger self about faith and life?
Dearie me. Listen to your mum. Don't tell her I said that.
She's like, told you so. I think we all have this inner goodness. And I think especially as a young person, sometimes it's hard to figure out, like sometimes I think this inner goodness stuff, like what you do, it might not seem as exciting as, like doing other things as well. But that's okay, and you can have your own identity. You can still enjoy, I think being around your friends without having to give in to temptations. And I think just don't be too hard on yourself, even if you feel like, you're not doing it right. I think probably the first Baha'i I ever met, and this was back when I was in grade 1 or grade 2, she was my children's class teacher, and her name was Cora. And I remember her being so kind and sweet, and I just think, not that we had much of a conversation back then, but I feel like, her just kind of being nice for no reason made me feel like really cared for.
Yes. Yeah, children's class teachers are a big one.
Yeah, they're so good.
Yeah.
Shout out to children's class teachers.
Shout out to children's class teachers.
What do you wish you'd known prior to becoming a Baha'i? That you don't need to be perfect. And that it's between you and God solely. And that just because you make that declaration doesn't mean that you can't, mess up at times.
Yeah.
Because I think, again, like, being hard on yourself doesn't help anyone.
Yeah.
And so I think that I wish I had a bit more of that, like, ingrained in me that, it's okay. And I think less of that pressure would have really helped.
What did you have to give up to become a Baha'i?
Oh.
Did you have to give up alcohol?
I had stopped drinking, I think it was a few months before becoming a Baha'i.
Yeah, right.
I didn't drink until, this is probably going to kind of confession area, but it's okay. I didn't drink until I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a family where, alcohol was a huge problem. So I could see why it was terrible within the family, but then also society. And so I think when I started becoming a young adult as well, I just wanted to just try it. And I think I just, in a way, forgot about that, all that stuff. I just wanted to create my own identity. But then when I realized how destructive it was, where, I felt like I was a hypocrite as well, because I was animating children's classes, but then, sorry, not children's classes, animating a junior youth group. And then I'd go work in a club and like be serving drinks afterwards. I just felt like it wasn't right of me to kind of be in these two very, or be doing these two very different things. So I think when I became a Baha'i, like, even though I took the action of stopping alcohol beforehand, it started to make sense to me why I grew up the way I did, why I kind of naturally stopped myself. But I think it's also something that I'm grateful that has happened as well, because we know the, like the physical effects of like addiction too. So I'm actually very grateful. That's happened.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I didn't really have to. I had to give up food during the fast.
Oh, yep. That's really difficult. A lot of people are like, oh, wow. And yes, it's water as well. Food and water.
During the fast. But that's probably about it.
What's your biggest fear in life?
Probably my biggest fear in life is probably just my children suffering.
Aww.
In one way or another. Even though I know that suffering is a part of this life, and I think the faith tells us that suffering is there to help us grow, and this world is here to test us so that we can grow for the next world. You still get kind of scared thinking about your children having to go through that. Why would you want to add more restrictions and rules to yourself?
I think it's your perspective. It's your perspective on things, and it's like that blueprint.
That's right.
Does make your life easier. I think there are a lot of things that are self-imposed that makes your life difficult, such as, back to this backbiting or gossiping example that creates so much drama that is so preventable, avoidable, yet if you were to kind of stick to this whole principle of not backbiting for yourself, you can't control what other people do, but for yourself, then life is a bit more of a breeze.
I know. Yeah. I find that the faith provides a beautiful framework as well, not a set of rules and restrictions. It's a framework, and so it's for the whole of humanity, for the whole world to be able to say, okay, this is kind of what we can all follow in order for humanity to have one common goal to work towards, to all come together. Whereas if everyone wants to pick and choose their own little bits and pieces that work for them, then you're not really going to have that common unified world order. So for me, it just makes total sense to have this one blueprint, like you said.
Something you're working on at the moment that's for your community.
I think that's just something that we do every single kind of week when we have our community building activities, and whether it's the spiritual education classes for our children and our junior youth, and when everybody gets together, and we're also passionate about the education of all ages, and it's all underlined by the principles of our faith to build community. I think that's just so beautiful. Yeah.
Within our community in Tarneit, we've started children's classes at a hub, and we've gotten parents together to speak a little bit more deeply about life's questions, about what it means to be a part of a community, because it is such a new flourishing area where there's a lot of young families. So we speak to them about what it means to just want to have a different kind of life for your
vibrant community.
A vibrant community, how to build a vibrant community together, and why it's so important that we do it together as well. So that's something we're working on now. I think I'm working on less materialism. Yes. I think especially when there's a new life change, sometimes we can cope by buying this and that, because you're like, oh, this will really help the situation. You know, being newly pregnant, I'm like, I need this and this and this. But then, you know, at the end of the day, like, it's not something that you need. It's more of a want for certain things. So I'm definitely working on this element of, I guess, overconsumption. Trying to save
it's
money.
hard
when
you're immersed in, like, you know, a world of...
Or the ads.
Yeah.
How do you celebrate Baha'i holy days?
I think the wonderful thing about Baha'i holy days is that there's no hard and fast rules. So everyone has the ability to be creative and to go about it their own way, and to come up with their own ways of celebrating with their family and their community. And so when I was growing up, I mean, my parents made a point of making sure we knew how special the holy days were. So we'd go out to restaurants, we'd get gifts, we'd celebrate with the community. And now that I have my own family, I make sure so that the kids know how special these days are. So as well as celebrating with the community and with friends, you know, we make sure so that, we make a huge point of making a big deal out of these special days.
So it's something they can be proud of.
That's right.
Do you ever feel weird being religious in a society that is not?
I think maybe when I was younger, it was a bit more kind of a weird feeling, because you were, you know, you were different. You didn't celebrate Christmas or Easter, and so it was kind of more like, oh, who am I? How do I fit into all of this? No, I'm not going to do that. No, I don't do that. But now that I'm older, I'm very much more confident about what I believe and being a Baha'i, and I'm just so, I just am so happy and joyful about who I am and my identity, that it just doesn't at all feel weird to me. So,
Nice. I think that being religious does have that stigma to it. Some, you know, I guess in a way, like, understandably so, because religion has been used, you know, the name of religion has been used for a lot of, you know, atrocities in the world still currently. So I think that when you are firm in your religion, it can be quite weird to some people as well. But I think because we do have that deeper understanding and acceptance of how, you know, this might not be the norm, but, you know, this is what we believe in, and this is for the good of humanity, and we're not forcing any ideologies down anyone's throat. I think I can say that I feel quite proud to be part of this religion.
That's right. Thank you for tuning in to the Deck of Questions, being a Baha'i edition. We hope that you enjoyed the pleasure of our company.
Thank you so much for watching. That's a funny noise. What else can we do? Outro. 3. Yeah. I thought it would really like spread out, but not really. Yay. Thanks, Della. Thanks for your time.
Sisters.
Sisters. Oh. Hooray.